up, everybody? It's Hanson here at the HAG podcast. I have a special guest with me today. His name is Victor. He's a sergeant in the Marine Corps. And, he wears many hats. He's in the Marine Corps band, as well as he does a little bit of photography on the side, but he's a little bit humble about himself. He probably wouldn't say that he does photography. I dabbled in a little bit of rap. Victor, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, Hanson. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm glad that you're here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So what do you have going on in your current life right now that you could talk about?
Well, what I got going on right now, on top of being a musician, I've taken the newfound time that I've had with this year, with all the restriction of movement and everything, and I've started making what I call motivational videos. Just putting out good vibes and positivity out there to the public. The theme, I would say, is just advice that I would have liked to have when I was a junior troop growing up in the Marine Corps. Advice that I didn't get. My cup wasn't, my plant wasn't watered, my cup wasn't that full. So what I'm doing now is I'm going ahead and I'm putting out content that the junior me would have liked to hear. And so far it's been getting good recognition. Listeners and followers from all over the world are hitting me up, sending me messages. I got pretty much, I think, most RSs and RS commanders, sending me messages, thanking me for putting out the content, basically putting into words what they've been trying to relay to these kids they're trying to recruit, possible candidates that they, I guess, couldn't before. And for them, it's really sensational seeing someone who's not even on the recruiting front. I'm not down there on the front lines on stateside, being a recruiter. I'm out here in Okinawa, just in the comfort of my room, and a camera, and some lighting equipment. But they see that and they're very grateful for it. And there is a need to put out more content, I believe. In seeing what has been putting out for a while, and the usual messages that military influencers put out, in my opinion, is that it's either very far to the left or very far to the right. It's either, your typical gym going, very strong, use my code to get 15% off, whey protein, this, that, and the other. It's either super macho, or it's on the other side of the spectrum where it's either just usually a female service member posting scantily clad photos saying, hey, here's a link to my my private website, my OnlyFans, whatever have you. And I was just noticing as a consumer of content that there wasn't anything in the middle, for the average Joe, for the average service member. And as a bandsman, I think I fit, kind of in the middle there. I'm not on the super strong guy side, and I'm not on the, super feminine, female side, So I wanted to put out content that was that people could use, especially junior troops. They could actually take it, learn from it. It can help them grow as a person, as a leader. And that's, I think, why the main reason I started these motivational videos was so that there was content for the middleman, and I believe it's been received pretty well so far, and I have no choice but to keep going.
Yeah, I saw one of Victor's videos on Instagram first, and definitely clicked on it because I saw this sergeant in the Marines. He had on his Marine Corps uniform, and I just wanted to see what it was about. Definitely motivated, definitely a little bit too much motivated for my taste, but hey, I respect what he's doing. He's actually putting out knowledge out there for junior Marines or just people that have interest in joining the Marine Corps. And you can't hate on that. You have to respect that. So I'm all for what he's doing. I really wasn't aware of the fact that there's female Marines actually creating OnlyFans accounts. Is that like a fad that's going on?
I would say yes, it's a fad. Are they supposed to be doing that? No. But there's ways around everything. Basically, what I'm saying is when I was describing that, it was either super macho man or you know, senior enlisted Marine or officer Marine, you know, posting selfies from different angles, you know, try to capture, you know, just like a kind of a lust kind of thing. And that was the only content I was seeing. I was either seeing, hey, say 15%, you know, on whey protein by using my code, and or here's my workout routines, you know, follow for a workout routines here, subscribe for my workout routines, or, you know, just scantily clad photos.
Yeah, so basically the content wasn't genuine, period, right? That's what you're getting at.
It was probably genuine to them, but I couldn't eat from that.
Yeah,
you know?
it wasn't genuine to the
No.
consumer in a sense.
No, the average service member who would be consuming this stuff, he wasn't going to get full, he or she wasn't going to get full off of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So I wanted to put out good quality content that people would still be talking about and people would share with their friends and everything.
Yeah. Okay, and then you did mention that you was in a Marine Corps band for the Marine Corps, and you know we talked a little bit off cam, and I just found out he's actually a seasoned Marine. You know, he's been in coming up on 8 years, right?
Yeah, 7.5 years.
Coming up on 8 years. Is this your first time in Oki?
This is my very first time in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yes. Before this, I was at 1st Marine Division for 3 years. I was part of the band there. A lot of good memories there, and then my reenlistment incentive was to come out here to Okinawa, and I got approved, and I've been here since April of 2017. I was bit by the wanderlust bug. I've been to 14 countries and a U.S. territory and counting so far. What I really like about being out here is the opportunities to travel that being out here provides. You know, obviously pre-COVID, I mean, we get so many 96s out here, and it takes, you know, little to no effort at all to, you know, get your mates and go to, you know, an extended weekend in Taiwan, Thailand, you know, the Philippines, and I've just eaten it all up. You know, it was a really good time. I miss it now, of course, but of course we all have to abide by the rules and not go anywhere for the time being. But being out here, definitely a treat.
Yeah, and was that traveling to 14 different countries? Was that on the Marine Corps dime? Basically, with being in the Marine Corps band, you was able to travel a lot because of it, or
yes,
was that
absolutely. Majority was as an active duty Marine. Yes, most definitely. It was either on work or leave periods that both, you know, my job provided. So.
Yeah, because I definitely did see that in your Instagram post, man. Like, you've been to phenomenal places, definitely phenomenal places. A lot of places that I wish I could have. I think I still can. You know what I mean? I still can
Absolutely,
go to those
yeah,
places. Yeah. I've been to a couple. I definitely haven't been to 14 though. You have a favorite spot that you like to visit?
Yes, I would say when people usually ask me what's the favorite country of yours that you've been to, it's a draw between Singapore and France. But I would say Singapore, since it's closer out here. I would make repeat trips there. I've been there twice, both times on leave, and I just love the atmosphere. I love that, you know, it's just a metro ride to a different world. It seems like, you know, they have Little India, they have Chinatown, they have beautiful shop-filled streets that you can want for nothing. You know, you'll see everything you like, and that's Singapore to me. And I long to return to Singapore, I would have to say. Yeah, that's my favorite spot out here.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, man. I wasn't aware of the different cultures that's actually in itself in just Singapore. When you mentioned you have Little India and Little China and stuff like that, that's actually really cool.
It's extremely diverse over there.
Yeah,
absolutely. But English will also get you pretty far there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommend go to Singapore.
14. And what was the inspiration or the motivation behind like getting into travel and stuff like that? Did you grow up traveling a lot, or?
I did not. No, I came from a family that didn't really have the funds to travel, let alone, you know, different cities in the U.S. You know, instead of, you know, countries.
Yeah.
I went on little trips here with my dad and my mom, solo trips. I'm from Florida originally. So when it came time to looking towards where I would go to school, we took little trips to Georgia. Was looking at UGA for a little bit, music performance major. Took little trips to New York City, looking at the music colleges up there. But of course, at the end of it, decided the Marine Corps was the best option for me, and absolutely, no regrets there. But to answer your question, no, I didn't really travel a lot growing up, especially not out of country. That was more of the opportunity is now afforded to me, and I can do it, so I'm definitely going to take advantage of it while I'm young, single, and don't have a family to lug around, because I know it'll be harder in my later years if there's more than just me to worry about and more than just me to pay for. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's really been it. Just when will I have this opportunity again? The answer is I don't know. So why not do it now?
Yeah, I like that. That's beautifully said. It's definitely. What is something that you could say that definitely traveling has taught you, or what have you learned from visiting different countries that you bring into yourself today?
I would say what I've learned is everyone has a different story, and to don't be so quick to judge just because something seems different to you. You're not used to it yet. That could go with food. That could go with culture. That could go with just the way people wear their hair, or the way people pronounce their R's or their L's. Everyone comes from a different background. And so through traveling, I've definitely become less ignorant, and I've seen other cultures and other communities out there. And I've just seen how big and beautiful the world is. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've learned to not judge so quickly and as harshly, because we're all different.
Yeah. Man, I don't think I'm gonna catch this guy slipping, man. He's really good. He's really good. Yeah, no, you put words into perspective, and I wholeheartedly agree, with everything you're saying. Because too many times, as we're seeing right now in our country, in America, I think a lot of our fixes necessarily to culture differences and stuff like that is the lack of traveling and the lack of seeing what the rest of the world has to offer, So I think when you actually start to get out of where you're from and you start to visit other countries and you see how different people live and different cultures treat each other and just their ways of living, then you get to appreciate a lot. You get to appreciate the good that comes with being an American, and you get to appreciate the bad that comes with being an American. But I think all too much, I think a lot of people tend to give America such a bad rap when they don't necessarily have the whole picture in itself, or they've never actually been outside of America. So to those people, I say get out to the rest of the world and travel and see what life is really like before you judge, because every country has its good, every country has its bad. You know what I mean? To actually wrap that in, you mentioned the Marine Corps band and stuff like. How did you get indoctrinated into being in the Marine Corps and joining the Marine Corps band? Obviously, you were doing it while you was in high school.
Yes. Well, I've always been a musician. I knew I wanted to pursue music professionally. I just didn't know which through what avenue I would do that. Yeah. And I always thought it interesting to serve, especially your country, a country that's given so much to you and everyone. So I wanted to serve in the capacity that I best knew how to. And for me, that was through music. So once I discovered there was a music opportunity, in the Marine Corps, it's called the Musician Enlistment Opportunity Program, or MEOP for short, it's the acronym. So once I discovered the MEOP, I was like, whoa, this is a way I can serve in the capacity that is best suited for me, in the capacity that I can give the most of myself and my talents. So once I discovered that existed, I just went ahead. I was 17 in the delayed entry program, and then by 18, 2 weeks after high school grad, I found myself shipping to boot camp. So not much of a transitional period, just real quick. The best way to do it, I think.
Well, we have that in common at least. Oh, yeah? I joined at 17 too. Yeah, but I didn't make. I made 18 while I was in MOS school.
Oh, so you were actually younger than me.
Yeah.
I turned 18 in May, and then my high school grad was like June-ish time, like late June, maybe July, and then 2 weeks later I was in Paris Island. So.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself to be a lifer then in the military? Because you seem to really enjoy it. You seem to really love what you're doing.
Absolutely. I love the opportunities that it provides me, definitely. Yeah. a lot of people, and when they say they just can't wait to get out and they feel like they've wasted their youth, I don't agree with that narrative, because we all have off hours. What are you doing between 16:30, and 07:30 the next day? That's time. That's your time to do with how you see fit. And if you're not properly, getting fed through reading, through self-learning, so self-reflection, all that stuff that you should be doing, then you're going to keep this bad attitude about you, and then you're going to just have nothing but negative things to say about your service and about the time you spent while active duty. And I've never agreed with that narrative. I found something to do with my time, whether it be reading, self-study, self-motivation, self-reflection, taking up photography, taking up creating motivational videos, avidly reading anything I can get my hands on. Those have been my decisions, and through my decisions, I will make my experience better. And so, yes, to answer your question, I will definitely be a lifer, because I've learned to handle my free time, and I know exactly what I need to do to be successful. And the Marine Corps and being active duty isn't going to get in my way.
Whew, man. But see, I think you're a different type of human being. I think you just have to accept that fact, that you're thinking, the way your mindset and your mentality is, it's not the typical of the everyday person, right? We're all a little bit different, but obviously, like, Victor's establishing very disciplined, and I wouldn't caveat that to being in the Marine Corps as like his discipline, because all Marines are disciplined, but he brings about a certain aura. You know what I mean? And I'm meeting him for the first time. This is our first conversation. I don't even know where he's from. You know what I mean?
This is our first conversation.
Yeah.
Documented.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get into where he's from and like what he's about a little bit later. But just sitting here with him, and I could tell he has a different aura about him, where he knows he sets his mind to his goals, and he knows where he wants to be in life and what he's gonna do in life. And he even said, like, hey, the Marine Corps isn't going to get in the way at that. So I definitely respect that. One big thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier that I'm totally for is reading. I feel like people today don't read enough, like, whatsoever. What book are you currently reading right now, man?
Oh, I go through about 4 to 5, I'd say, at a time. And that's not me reading one entire book and then going to another. No. I've found out the way that best suits me, to make sure that I don't get bored of it first. But second, I can get through a lot more reading material. So what I would do is I started out with the classics, because, I mean, to be honest, don't let the way I speak and the way I present myself fool you. I've only taken up reading, I would say, within the last year. I have been ignorant towards the written text and reading and the life lessons and the learning you can get from reading up until recently. And a lot of that had to do with the restriction of movement and us not being able to travel as much. So I've just taken up reading. And I knew that I would be remiss if I didn't start reading the classics, because if you think about our culture, a lot of cultural references are from the classics. You think of Moby Dick, you think of Huckleberry Finn, you think of Oliver Twist, you think of To Kill a Mockingbird, Of Mice and Men. These are books that I either didn't read all the way through, or just decided to never waste my time with. And that was something that I was discovering, that I needed to read these books, and younger me just wasn't mentally mature enough. But to answer your question, the classics are what I'm going through right now. I recently finished Moby Dick. Highly recommend. It's 565 pages, 135 chapters. It's not all interesting. There's a lot of filler in there, but if you can muscle through the filler, you'll learn a lot about the human condition, about greed, and how greed can ultimately overthrow you and overpower you, as it often does. We have fictional characters that we can learn real life lessons from. Even though Captain Ahab never existed in real life, he is still culturally referenced, and we can learn a lot from him. Same thing with Atticus Finch, the lawyer from To Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus Finch never existed in real life, but we still learn to this day a lot about the human condition and about compassion. So find a fiction book, find a classic that you can hold dear to and learn from the characters that are inside that book. Besides the classics, I also read, I guess, financial self-help books, I guess I would call it. I saw your copy of Think and Grow Rich. I haven't made it to that one yet, but I am halfway through with Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, who is also, he was a Marine in Vietnam era. So when I was reading that book, I'm like, oh, this guy is just, he's taking the idea that finances and having your money work for you are so foreign of a concept and everything, but they're really not. There's just certain things you just have to get your ducks in a row, and you can start living financially better almost immediately. So between the classics and between financial self-help books, that's usually on the menu for me as far as reading in the printed word. I highly recommend, if you're not into reading, start getting into reading. Find something. It doesn't have to be nonfiction. When I was first starting out, I was like, well, if I'm going to waste my time, or if I'm going to use my time reading the printed word, reading text, it's got to be nonfiction. I have to learn something from it. I'd be dumb to read fiction, because that's not true. That stuff didn't happen. Why would I waste my time reading about events that didn't happen?
Yeah.
And I was so wrong in that statement. I realize that now, because how would I have learned lessons from Captain Ahab? How would I have learned lessons from Robinson Crusoe, another person who didn't exist? Yet Robinson Crusoe, that book, written, I believe, in the 1600s by Daniel Defoe. He was born in the 1600s in England, so either the 1600s or 1700s. That book, Robinson Crusoe, has been translated, second to the Bible, has been translated the most out of any other work. So think about that. The Bible, and then second place is Robinson Crusoe. Crazy.
Yeah, that's
Robinson
insane.
Crusoe never existed.
And that's a fictional character.
It's a fictional character.
In which book is that?
The Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. That's the book.
I've never heard of it. I'll definitely tap into it after this podcast, though, because I'm a big advocate for reading too, as well. And man, I couldn't have said it any better, man. You hit the head on all the nails. You know, I was one too that started off as like, I'm definitely not reading anything that's fiction, you know what I mean? Because I don't feel like I'll gain anything from it. I definitely started off on more financial books. I started off on David Ramsey's, forgot which one that was. Started off on David Ramsey, and then...
Is it Financial University? Or?
No, I think it was the one before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit before that. But what really got me into reading books was my gunny while I was in the Marine Corps. He'd always talk to me about like these war stories and stuff like that. So shout out to Gunny Sean Nicholson, man. I don't know if he's still around. He probably around this time. He should be like a master guns, because that was like 9 years ago. So you know what I mean. I'm pretty sure by now he's up there in rank. But no, he used to make me read. He used to make me read a lot, and it wasn't like he was. I didn't have a choice. He was forcing me. Yeah, he was my.
You got in your libo time, okay.
Yeah, he was forcing me to read these books,
okay.
And from there I found a love for it, and I just always kind of been drawn to it because it's kind of like a forbidden fruit nowadays. Like a book, like you don't see many people pick up a book, or you don't see many people in their spare time actually sitting down and taking the time out to read. A lot of the time it's just your cell phone, social media, and just the internet's taking over. So I'm always drawn to what other people are not doing. You know, that's one of the things that pulls me in. So whenever I realize like, hey, like a lot of people aren't reading books, probably, you know what I mean, I'll probably be cool. It was more like of a sense of like, I'd probably be looking cool if I picked up a book instead of just having my phone in my hand 24/7, man.
Absolutely. I always made it a conscious effort to have a hard copy of a book. And I don't even believe in getting Kindles or anything like that, or Nooks or whatever. I like to feel the pages. I like to feel the actual book. And I'm not the type to read books on my phone because I can get easily distracted. What else do you use your phone for? Social media.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you find yourself, oh, notification pops up.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm outside the story, you know. But you can't do that with a book. You can't do that with printed text. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for printed text if you're going to read.
What's your headspace like for when you start to begin to read? So, because I know for me, it's really hard to. I love reading. I love being able to pick up a book and do it, but like you said, distractions. It's so much easier and so much more entertaining to just pick up my phone and be on social media versus actually sitting down and reading two, three chapters a night or something like that. You know what I mean? So, what are you normally doing to get you in a headspace to actually read?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the environment. So for me, I set my barracks room up kind of like a living room. You know, I don't use the light, that what I call the surgical light. You know, that ugly kind of like
The
white
lamp?
light. No, it's like part of the ceiling in my barracks. I went out and bought a lamp. You know, a different hue of a color. I have an LED light, just kind of makes the room more aesthetic, and the vibes are always immaculate. So I like to have that be my space in my area to read text. So I sit down, of course. I'll have a lamp behind me. And when I'm reading it, to keep it interesting, sometimes I will put myself in the story. So you asked where my headspace is at. I will find a character that I can relate to and kind of put myself inside the story. And that way, it doesn't seem like I'm on the outside looking in. It appears to be that I'm in the story. Further, I always keep a pencil nearby when I'm reading because something will jump out at me. And if I'm going to be able to reference this book or a theme or a character or a quote, especially a quote, I'm going to want to be able to underline it because that's going to help my brain remember. So my advice to you out there, for all your readers or those that are getting into it, find a quiet place with little to no distractions and make sure you have a pencil nearby because you never know where the story is going to take you. You never know where the text is going to take you. And that's going to help you to remember especially what you read.
Yeah, definitely, man. Couldn't have been said better. You mentioned the book that I have over there, Think and Grow Rich. Hey, I'm sorry, library. I know I need to return your book. It's like 2 months overdue, man.
What base library you get that from?
I got it from Cordy, but you could turn them into any base. You could turn them into, as long as it's Marine Corps operated, you could put them in a Dropbox. And
as much as I like books, I do not utilize the libraries as much as I should. For me, since I know I'm going to be marking it up, I'll just go on Amazon and purchase the books. And that way it's my book. No one will get mad if it's marked up. That's just me. I mean, I understand, hey, library, free books. It's a great invention, great idea.
Yeah.
It's just not how I usually do it. But
when you're marking up books, what are you necessarily jotting down? Are you highlighting stuff or you just stuff that sticks out?
Well, that's exactly what it is. I'm either highlighting or underlining if I don't have a highlighter. So, and like I mentioned before, just quotes. There could be dates. If I'm reading a biography, there's something about the main character. I'm underlining certain things like maybe his birth or when he met his lover, his love interest or her love interest. I'm underlining things that will help me remember the story. So I'm kind of underlining checkpoints, if you had to describe it, like checkpoints in the story.
Yeah. Well, definitely, man. Victor comes out, as I said before, like discipline, man. Where would you kind of like derive that to or from? You know, where would you say you got your discipline from in order to be the person that you are today? Because in the sense of normal, I would say everyday working people, life is so distracting, and it's I think is one of the hardest things to do is to be disciplined. You know, in a craft or in your hobbies or everything that you're into or you're passionate about. For you, what would you say? Were you just born this way? Would you say how do you work on it? And I noticed that I've seen some Instagram posts that definitely signify organizational skills. You know, you take time out, you have a pen and pad, you write down probably a list of to-dos and stuff like that. And how I know that's very beneficial for you to be able to do stuff like that, but 9 times out of 10 I meet a lot of people that can't. They're just like, I'm not that type of person, so I can't just be jotting down, you know what I mean, a to-do list and stuff like that. So where does that come from for you?
What I would prescribe to all you out there watching is it has a lot to do with your environment and who you spend your free time with. I've spent my free time with giants in the sense that they are go-getters, they are goal achievers. Once they set their mind to something, nothing can get in their way. I've discovered that if I surround myself with 4 or 5 high-achieving people, I'm going to be the 6th one. Hands down, absolutely. And that just comes with who you decide to spend your free time with. Something you have to remember out there, iron sharpens iron every single time, okay? if you feel like you're among your friend group and you're not getting fed, and a lot of them are just staying stagnant, well, the ugly truth is that you're probably going to be the next one to stay stagnant. You know, you're not going to grow if those around you are not growing. You have to remember that strong-willed men and women sharpen strong-willed men and women. If you want to be one of those strong-willed men and women and have your to-do list and just make things part of your everyday routine, whereas you feel lazy if you're not on that high achieving level 24/7 or during the working hours, take a look around at your environment and see who you're hanging out with. To answer your question, it's all about environment. It's who you're spending your time with, and also your diet. I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about what you digest. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Your diet. If you're not where you need to be, fix your diet.
Lit. Could have said it ain't better, man. What are some of the things that you actually ingest in then for your diet that motivates you to keep going and motivates you to stay on the right track?
It has a lot to do with what I read, both the fiction and the nonfiction. You know, if it's a fictional character and they have a fatal flaw, well, what was their fatal flaw? How can I ensure that I don't fall for that trap? Okay, I got to get my pride and my personal greed in check so I don't end up like Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. You know what I'm saying?
But you started reading within the last year and a half, right?
I would say, yeah.
Year or so. So what were you doing before you started reading?
So before reading, I had some friends who have recently PCS'd, but we would kind of just have fun. I was in a rap group for a little bit out here. Every weekend we would just tear up Gate 2. Got to the point where they were actually playing our music in the clubs as well. My buddy knew the producers, knew the DJs over in there. So I would say, to answer your question, to wrap it up, I think it would just be a lot of self-indulgence. I think before reading and taking time to acquire knowledge and be serious about, you know, a knowledge acquisition and the likes, whether it be reading or watching informational things. I think my free time was basically just a lot of self-indulgence, you know, in things that weren't building me up. So it was a lot of fun. I have a lot of great memories, but at the end of the day, it wasn't making me better. It was just making me louder, I guess, you know. My footprint wasn't going to go as far as it could my footprint was large, but it could be a lot. I saw that it could be a lot larger if I started being more serious about what I was doing, and the habits that I had were a lot more mature. Did a lot of traveling. I had the music thing, both in military music and also just on the side with the hip hop group, the rapping group. That might be it. Just a lot of traveling and a lot of music creating. I've always been into creating, whether it be music or photography or what have you. But 2020 has put a lot of structure in my life. Yes.
And is that because of COVID? Or
I think I would attribute it to the lack of being able to move around and doing stuff. So yeah, I would attribute it pretty well to just the fact that we can't go anywhere. Yeah. So, for example, I had plans to go home for summer leave and everything like that. Those got canked. Couldn't go back home to Florida. Haven't been home in about 3.5 years. But you know, what am I gonna do with the situation? Of course, it is, you know, that I didn't choose to not be able to go home. But how am I gonna take this in stride and make a positive out of it? And so, yeah, I would say it has a lot to do with COVID and not being able to go anywhere. But now I have structured habits that are making me and everyone around me better, because I can be a catalyst for good. I can be a positive catalyst for change. And I recommend anyone out there watching, if you notice that your environment or your friends group, there's a lack of positivity, well, I would encourage you to be that positive catalyst for change yourself and see where that takes you.
Yeah, and you mentioned you was rapping. Were you taking that serious, or was it just something fun to do?
Not really. No, it was just with my friends. There was a studio out here, I think, a Sonic Garage. Shout out to Sonic Garage. They always hosted us, and it was a good time. I think my friend that did PCS, he was the most serious about it. He wanted it to go forth and do this. He's at a PI band right now, and he would drive down to Atlanta to be in to do some on stage performances and stuff like that. Stuff that I wouldn't do on my own. I only did it because I had my close friends doing it alongside with me, and it was a lot of fun. And I didn't fit the script. I didn't fit the bill, of course, when it came to like the rapping. But I would write my lines, I guess, like the day before, and they were okay. But it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If I had to attribute it to why I did it, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I disagree, man. I thought your rapping skills were lit. Cause I watched like a couple of videos. I thought you were the best one.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You had a chicken there. She said some crazy stuff, but
yeah.
We ain't gonna get into the other podcast. I don't want to put my man's on the spot because he been doing really well. He's a good dude, so I'll keep it positive. So that's dope, though, man. I definitely disagree with what you said. I think if you had took it serious and like. Yeah, because you're very lyrical and it's obvious because you've been doing music your whole, you know what I mean? You started in high school or before then?
Oh, music. Well, no, I've been playing piano, that's my job, by the way. I'm a MOS piano player. Yes. Pianist. If you didn't know it existed, I'm here. Living proof it exists.
Didn't know it existed,
yes, man.
Yes,
here, another fun fact. So there are... I would say, give or take, approximately 500 Marine musicians in the entire Marine Corps. So a little bit of perspective here. There's 186,000 Marines worldwide, right? 186,000. 500 of those are musicians. So that's a percent of a percent, right? And then my specific job, I'm a Marine piano player. So there are 10 of us.
Talk your shit, man. Look. He's telling you right now he's the elite of the elite of the elite.
I just got chosen, that's all.
Nah, man. Talk your shit, bro. You could curse on this podcast. You could do. I know you maintain a level of professionalism. That's fine.
Definitely. I'm also pretty tired, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah. He just got off of work, man. So, okay, shouts out to Victor, man. He was able to, get off of work a little bit later than he expected.
A full day of work today.
Yeah, so he's a little bit exhausted.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, but he still was, cool and dope enough to come on the podcast and humbly bless it, man. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you. And again, like I said earlier, man, this is my first time meeting him and stuff like that. So I just learned that he's from Florida. You know what I mean?
South Florida, Broward County.
Oh, that's the hood.
Is that what we call it? No.
Broward County, isn't that where Kodak Black is from?
Yeah, Kodak Black went to my church a few times.
Bro, hey, Kodak Black, free Kodak Black. You know what I mean? I didn't know that, bro. That's dope. That's dope. I know. Okay, so your motivational videos, right, are around the Marine Corps, and you create them because you felt like it's something that you didn't get from your higher ups or your leaders when you was coming up through the ranks, and that's what you want to put out there.
Absolutely.
Like I said earlier, they're motivational. You guys should go check them out. A little bit too much motivational for me because I'm out, but I definitely respect what he's doing, and I dig the Marine Corps. You know what I mean? A lot of times when I talk about the Marine Corps, I'm always like conflicted, right? Because hands down, the Marine Corps gave me a lot. You know what I mean? It gave me this perspective that I have right now. It allowed me to travel and allowed me to see the world in different places, and you know what I mean. And it gave me like a check in my pocket when I was only like 17 years old, a much bigger check than what a lot of 17-year-olds or even grown adults was actually getting. So, I love the Marine Corps for that, but I definitely there's flaws in it too. You know what I mean? Necessarily. What is it about the Marine Corps do you feel like is flawed in a sense, aside from like your motivational? Let's put it like this: if you was in a position to change one thing in the Marine Corps, what would it be that you think about and you're like, I'll probably go ahead and change this because when I was coming through the ranks, I didn't really like this.
I could probably just summarize it as the channels of communication. The channels of communication both up and down, left and right. It could be tighter,
Yeah.
So a lot of times I discover we're waiting on word, or we're waiting on, hey, what's the next event, or things will change as they often do in any organization, not just the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And so if the channels of communication were a little more aligned and a little more faster and quicker, I think a lot of problems would cease to be. I think. And that goes for any organization. Just channels of communication. Keep those in check. You'll keep your employees happy. You'll keep your patrons happy, and just go from there. Honestly.
Yeah. Well said, man. Is there anything in the Marine Corps, in the sense of like, do you feel like the Marine Corps is kind of like a vacuum society in the sense of like the way it's thinking and stuff like that? Because I know when I was in, I felt like I wasn't. If I had stayed in any longer, but see, you're a little bit different, and then we're gonna get onto that. Your mindset is, hey, nothing is gonna get in my way of what I put forward for myself and how I plan and what I'm gonna do in my life. And I think when I was in, I was a little bit, I was young. I didn't have that strong mentality that you did have, or that discipline. So my mentality was a little bit more of, I just feel like I wasn't going to get any smarter if I stayed in, because I was constantly around the same people, constantly hearing the same conversations. And I just felt like we were in a vacuum world. I didn't feel like it was necessarily the real world. And I know that could sound a little bit off to some people.
To those who don't get it.
Yeah. But it that's how I felt. Again, I could only speak from my perspective. I just didn't feel like I was growing. But with your mindset and your thinking is, hey, that don't really affect me. I'm gonna pick up a book, which you thankfully picked up a book within the last year and stuff like. I didn't pick up a book until technically while I was in, but it was mostly Marine Corps books. So it was about war and just the different lifestyles of being a Marine. Because I read With the Old Breed, read The Last Stand of Fox Company, which was a savage book, by the way. I don't
Machine
remember.
Gunners, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember who the authors was, but savage book. It's one of my favorites, about the Battle of Frozen Chosen.
Yeah.
And then yeah. But then I started to pick up other books that were just kind of expanding my mind after I got out. And I was just like, yeah, I don't feel like I would have been able to grow if I had stayed in. And what's your, like, I don't know. I know I threw a lot at you just now, but do you feel the same way, or no? You just like, hey man, I'm disciplined. You know what I mean? I can do what the fuck I want to do. So that stuff the Marine Corps isn't gonna get in my way in the way of my thinking and stuff like that.
Well, I think one narrative needs to change for sure, and that's the narrative that serving in the military or being in the Marine Corps while young is stealing your youth. Here's the thing, and you got to switch it like this. The Marine Corps didn't steal your youth. The Marine Corps is not stealing your youth. You are simply a youth in the Marine Corps. Let me say that again. The Marine Corps is not stealing your youth. You are simply a youth in the Marine Corps. Once you change your perspective, you start changing your environment. Now, I think a big reason why you were hearing the same conversations over and over again is because you didn't change your environment. Smoke pit talk, talking out in the motor pool or wherever have you, whatever your MOS is out there you're watching. Switching that up, diversifying your diet. What are you inhaling? What are you digesting as far as literature, movies, conversations? It can seem like a vacuum culture. I'm not going to argue that it's not. I'm not going to argue that there's not a million subcultures within the culture of the organization, because that'd be lying. Of course, there's many subcultures, but it's up to you to diversify your portfolio. Okay, that doesn't just go for finances. That goes for who you spend your time with, who you choose to exist with in your off hours. You don't have as much opportunity to choose who you hang out with in your work hours, because that's prescribed for you. But your off hours, that will help change your mindset, and that'll help get you fed to a degree that you weren't being fed before. So yes, there are subcultures. There is a vacuumness to it, but you can easily turn off the vacuum. You can get out of the bag. What's keeping you inside that bag?
Lit, man. Look, he said it. And I agree. I agree for sure. Um, yeah, there's a little bit nuances to it. But for the most part, I agree with what you say. It's definitely where you're being fed in your environment. However, right, the military, the Marine Corps, all of that's in your environment. Not just the smoke pit talk, not just the motor pool talk. It's the whole Marine Corps, the mentality of it. You know, I think you're able to discern from that a lot better because you're mature enough to know the difference now. Whereas me at that point, I don't think I had the right tools to actually differentiate between the two, and realizing like, hey, I'm totally in control of whatever I'm digesting and consuming. So that's where we're a little bit different. But you're not wrong at all. You're totally correct. I think that's a big difference. Is you have to be mature enough to actually to be aware of what's happening and how to disengage yourself from those type of that type of brainwashing mentality of basically the vacuum seal. Like you said, he said turn it off, man. He's lit, man. Victor's over here lit. Do you feel though that your MOS gives you a biasness towards the Marine Corps though that other Marines might not have? Cause you know, as of today, I'm still learning about the Marine Corps band. You know, the only thing I know is that you guys show up for ceremonies, the Marine Corps ball, and then you guys kind of like disappear into your own world. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know what else you guys do, but I think it's the right opinion is like majority of the Marine Corps doesn't necessarily know what an everyday band, Marine Corps band musician does. You know, or if it's the real world, or if it's the real Marine Corps. You know what I mean? And what do you have to say towards that?
Well, to relate it to your question, I wouldn't say I have a biased view. I would just say my view is different. As a bandsman and as a Marine Corps band, as an organization, we are a customer service-based organization. There is a customer out there, be it the first sergeant who needs us for a ceremony, or the captain or the major who needs us for his retirement or change of command or relief and appointment ceremony, and we provide that service. We are a customer service organization. I guess I could not say the same for, let's say, the grunt units or the tanks units or light armor, all this stuff. We are also more seen in the public eye. We're seen more often in the public eye than your ground pounders would be. Yeah. Because we are out there in the Veterans Day parades. We are out there in Fleet Week in San Francisco. We are out there marching the Tournament of Roses parade in Pasadena, California. We are out in the public. People are seeing us. People are shaking our hands. There's a lot of pressure on us. We have to be poster children of the Marine Corps, so to speak. We have to have flawless uniforms. We have to present ourselves in such a manner that will leave a positive impact to the American people. Because we might be very well the only Marine that they see in a long time, if not their entire life. And what message are we sending? So that is our view, I say. We may not be out in the field as often and as long as the other units are. But we're out there in the home front. We're out there shaking hands. We're out there providing a positive message. We're out there being musical ambassadors and patriotic ambassadors for the Marine Corps and for the military at large, for the American people, especially when we travel internationally out here. We're representing the U.S. of A. That's our plan out here, and that's our goal. That's why we're out here. So our view is different. I would wrap it up by saying our view is different.
Yeah. So the biasness wasn't necessarily charged at how should I say this? It was more as the biasness like towards other Marines, because other Marines on the outside looking in, they're like, well, I could do that too. You know what I mean? That's not bad, but they're getting the real, or some people would say the real brunt of what being in the Marine Corps is actually like. So they'd have a different outlook and a different view of it than you would, because you're necessarily getting the better half of it, right? Where you're out, you're being able to visit all these different places. You're not stuck in a motor pool. You're not listening to a staff sergeant or not even a staff sergeant. You're not listening to a sergeant or a corporal that's down your throat about something. You know what I mean? You're out in the public view dealing with civilians that's not going to treat you like that. So would you say would you say then, yeah, at that point of view, then it is different? And no, I'm not being biased because that's your outlook, right? But my view is somewhat construed. Would you agree to that?
I would say yes. There's different pressures. I would say, of course, when you're in the field, let's say you're artilleryman. There's pressures on you to make sure that the weapon that you're using is properly loaded and all this stuff. With us in the band, there's different pressures. There's pressures to make sure that we're not out acting a fool, intoxicated in public during a fleet week that we've been so graciously invited to. Yeah. So, whether my experience is better or worse than yours, or I got the taller end of the stick than you, that's up to you to decide. I've been a musician. This has been my profession and my interest for my entire life. I don't know how long you've wanted to been an artilleryman. I don't know how long you've wanted to been a field cook. I don't know how long you've wanted to been a tanker. But I've wanted to be a musician my entire life, and I prepared accordingly. So that's why I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it any better, man. I just wanted to touch on that topic too, though, because more for me, I see your videos, and like I said, like, they're dope, you know what I mean? But I do want to put out there, because I want to preach honesty more than anything, that, you know what I mean, it's a different view than some people would have. And it's nothing against the Marine Corps, it's nothing against the military. It's just like, hey, you're going to be on the podcast, man, like, I'm going to be 100% with you. It's different. You know what I mean? It takes a certain type of individual to be a Marine. And like I said, it's not for everybody. That's why the retention rate isn't like what it is, or, you know what I mean, isn't as high as it could be, because the military, like everything else, or the Marine Corps specifically, like everything else, has flaws, you know? But Victor was able to set himself up to be in a position where, hey, those flaws might not affect him too much. And that's all you have to do as an individual, figure out what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and then pursue those avenues of routes that you have, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want to do MSG? I know we talked about it a little bit. You want to do MSG?
Oh, yeah. My volunteer package jet for MSG.
Yeah.
They also got me on the HIST for recruiting. It's the third time I think I was on the HIST. I've been taken off a few times, but
let this man do MSG, man.
Let me do MSG.
Yeah, let this man do MSG. Any short-term goals that you have right now for yourself that's not Marine Corps related, or short-term or long-term? It's up to you. Both would be great, actually.
Let me see. I would say, because we talk about this stuff in the workplace too. We have our counseling sessions with our chain, our platoon leadership.
Are those taken seriously? Because I know when we did counseling,
I would say more or less. I would say, take them pretty seriously, because we don't just prescribe, okay, this is what you're gonna do. We follow through with it. So there's an environment of, okay, like, you didn't do this, like, okay, what got in your way? You had 3 months, or you had a whole month, like, so.
Yeah.
We take them a little bit more seriously. It's just the culture.
Yeah.
I would say, well, if it's not Marine Corps related, I say, okay, then I guess I can't use B in a MSG then as an example.
Nope.
But I would say, I think just seeing where my videos and my motivational content on Instagram is going. I would like to have a larger footprint, What's gotten me attention so far is that I'm kind of unapologetic in what I say, and I speak my truth, and I speak what I believe young up-and-comers need to hear. I'm not out there, I can't be paid off. I'm speaking exactly what's on my mind, and I always made it an effort to say, or I made it a thing to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to preach someone else's narrative. It's either going to be my way or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, it should always be like that, by
absolutely,
the way.
Yeah. So I would say in the next 5 years, kind of have a newfound vision for that, or start seeing if I can get my content on larger platforms or something like that. I know people have been asking me, when are you gonna have a YouTube? If you had a YouTube or a podcast, this and the other. I'm like, homie, let me just see what happens on IG first. Like, I haven't even made it yet. I'm out here thinking I made it, but let's just see where this goes first. Once I'm in the 5-digit follower count, then we'll see what the next step is. You know, if my demographic is mostly on Instagram, then I guess I'm just gonna focus my efforts on Instagram. There's no reason to go to YouTube if it's only like 5 or 6 people asking. You know, I gotta go where the biggest cow is. But yeah, I don't have a lot of I guess a better answer for you in the next 5 years, other than just bring to fruition what I've started in this year. Definitely pile on a lot more books. I want to be extremely well read.
Yeah.
You know, because in 5 years, I'll be 30. I'm 25 right now, so in 5 years I'll be 30. So I would like to have a lot of reading under my
same age.
Same age? We're the same age? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. I like to have a lot of reading under my wings. I would, let's see, maybe own property. We'll see.
Hey, do it, man.
There's money in the air. There's money in property. There's money to be made. You know, like I was talking about before. You know, surround yourself with those high achieving individuals. I definitely have some high achieving individual friends back there, hooking and jabbing stateside, that I would just love to chat up and just see what they're doing and using their VA loans, this, that, and the other. Get that mortgage, get those renters, living for free basically, because they got those renters and they got the BAH.
Yeah.
Just figure out what they're doing. I want to pick their brain a little bit, and then in 5 years, I like to have my own property, almost paid off, if not fully paid off, but we'll see.
You know, Victor, I believe in you, bro.
No, thank you.
Nah, straight up, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And for those that, you know what I mean, the few that's watching, because I'm still building this and stuff like that, like, Victor is a perfect example of the type of people that you should be close to, because not only are they disciplined and they just bring in positivity in their life and they're trying to be better than what they were yesterday, but they're keen and they're open-minded and they're trying different things, you know what I mean? And they're the perfect people that you should always be rubbing shoulders with, because, you know, just as we sit down today, we have this conversation, you know what I mean? Everything that he's talking about is strictly on my mind too. Owning a house within the next 5 years, because I just have my daughter. She's only 4 months, and I'd like to not be renting. You know, I'd like to have some place where she could come home to, but I'd like to not have to pay rent, period, and hopefully get like a duplex to where the person underneath me or could pay my rent for me or my mortgage for me, you know. So those are definitely conversations that I'm always about having. Are you currently into stocks or anything like that?
I am. So but here's my approach to it. So I'm not one of those people that is swing trading. I don't have the willpower or the nerve to just stand, you know, eyes glued to a screen and watch the little red and green lines go up and down. That's just not me. That's not what I'm into. I go what would potentially be known as the safer route. I mutual funds, index funds, you know, the top 500, you know, S&Ps, the safer routes that over time are going to accrue positive dividends and you're going to get annual returns. That's where I put a large chunk of my money. For those active duty members, I hope you're contributing to your TSP. Hope you're doing your Roth TSP. And I say Roth instead of traditional, because Roth is you don't have to, you don't believe it's non-taxed money. You put that in, whereas traditional, correct me if I'm wrong, but traditional, you ultimately, when you take it out,
they tax you on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you don't know what the tax rate's going to be at that point. You're better off putting the money before taxes, pre-tax money, into a Roth. Again, I'm no financial advisor. I just know my little snippets of golden nuggets from the shoulders I rub against every day. But
I'll do you one more though. Just do both.
Just do both?
Yeah, because same thing with IRAs. I forgot which one, but traditionals or whatever IRAs you get into, one is tax for the money you put in, and then one is tax after you pull out. So just do both.
I have multiple Roth IRAs. I'm pretty diversified, I think, when it comes to finances.
I believe you.
So so one of them I highly recommend, if you just want a kind of a hands-off approach to investing, I recommend Acorns. They have an app.
Yep.
It's easy for me. I mean, you can set it up where it takes a weekly, or you can set up weekly, monthly, but I have mine where it automatically withdraws, I think, $60 every week. So that's $240 a month. You know, I don't miss it. $60 a week. All right, gone, invested. Don't even think about it. Never even had it. Just out of the equation. You know, out of sight, out of mind. You also can set it up in Acorns where you do roundups. So, for example, you go to the shopette, you buy your, in my case, my 3 tornadoes. I freaking love tornadoes. You swipe, and let's say it comes out to like 333, where those. So what it does is it rounds up to the next dollar. So if your order was 333, let's say 66, about 66 cents, drops right back into your Acorns account. And then it's just you're investing without even thinking about it. Alongside with the TSP, that has been diversified. For a while, I was just putting in G Fund, and I was corrected on that because by people that knew better, like no, diversify S Fund, I Fund, C Fund. So I'm diversified now. Have a good chunk of change in there as well. So to answer your question, I guess kind of. Without thinking about it, kind of indirectly, I am involved and invested in stocks and diversified and everything, but it's not something that I have my hand in daily. I don't freak out about the stock market. I don't. The hype doesn't bother me, because the way I see it, and this is a good point for you guys watching to think about it like this. If you're kind of unsure about the stock market and kind of unsure when to join, I offer you this wisdom. The best day to was yesterday, and the second best day to join is right now. So, the best time to join was yesterday, and the second best time to join is right now. And when you see, let's see, you see those charts and those graphs, and they scare you because they go up and down and up and down. Here's what you have to realize: the pie is only getting bigger. Okay, the stock market is only getting bigger. American ingenuity is only improving and increasing. The pie is only getting bigger. So that being said, when you see those ups and downs, you gotta think about it like this. It's a mountain. You're walking up that mountain. You're holding a yo-yo. The yo-yo goes up and down. Don't let the yo-yo going down scare you, but guess what? Because you're still walking up that mountain. You are walking up that mountain. Your yo-yo will go up and will go down. It will fluctuate. The market will fluctuate. There's no stopping that. But you got to remember, you're walking uphill. The pie's getting bigger.
I would have loved to have ended on that analogy. It was a great analogy. But I do have one last question before we wrap this up.
Yep.
It's what's your current dream, and what are you doing, or what steps are you taking to actually achieve your dreams?
Oh, I would say the dream that I think I daydream the most about is working for the State Department. Not too much of a surprise because I have aspirations for MSG, and I believe MSG to be a good foot in the door, a good conversation starter, rubbing my elbows with people that already have that job. We will be alongside embassy.
Could you just briefly, sorry, not to cut you off, but could you just briefly describe what MSG is for the viewers that are watching? Because it is our last question.
Yes, absolutely. MSG, it's an acronym, Marine Security Guard. Basically, if you serve on MSG duty, you are serving as a Marine security guard in an embassy, in a consulate, in an area, and you are a diplomat. For all intents and purposes, you represent the U.S. of A. We're talking like you are pistol trained, you are trained to handle riots. Of course, I don't have any experience yet, but for the videos I've seen, the testaments I've heard and everything, you are there as a force to protect if needed, to obviously set up security if needed, but you are there to represent America. You are an ambassador 24/7 when you are in country, as serving as a Marine security guard, and so that piqued my interest. Of course, I would be away from the band. I wouldn't be attached to a band for 3 years. It'd be a B-billet, secondary job. But I would love to learn and soak up as much information as I can while serving in that capacity. And for me, with my selfish desires of eventually working for the State Department, it would be a good leeway into that career field, and I would be meeting the right people. So, yeah.
Well, Victor, man, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was everything I thought it would be.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
having me.
For humbly accepting and blessing it. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
It was nice meeting you.
I wish you the best of luck.
Same here, likewise, dude. Me too. All right, there you guys have it. We're out.